Rugby league, it continues to be the game which keeps on giving. Welcome to the Fair Income Department, episode 2. Today we've got a very simple task. Is the big stories from the weekend. Are they real or are they just a little bit ridiculous? I'm Chris Danks. Across from me in the Red v Red, Liam O'Loughlin. We are the Fair Income Department. Big weekend of footy round 2. Game of the weekend for you.
Game of the weekend for me, Sharks Para, Friday night. 6 o'clock game is usually a bit of a bludger of a game, but the NRL, for whatever reason, have scheduled two good teams up against each other.
Burners.
56 points, pretty exciting, and goal kicking proved to be the difference. That was a pretty good game of footy, I thought.
As a known Sharks hater, what are your thoughts on the Sharks leaking 26 points?
I wouldn't say I'm a hater, but, I mean, if you score 30 and leak 26, it's all good.
Yeah.
Defence kind of builds throughout a season, so I wouldn't be too worried in round 2. And Parramatta, obviously, a pretty good side. Plenty of attacking weapons, so not too much cause for concern, to be honest.
What I loved more than anything was, so the Sharks finished, I'm pumped, I can enjoy the weekend, and then you go, oh great, we've actually got Broncos-Cowboys coming up next. The imprint from me after 6 hours on the lounge barely moving was impressive. It was very good. For me, I went Thursday night. I thought the Panthers were fantastic. Rabbitohs also very good. Game obviously marred a little bit of controversy, which we'll get to first, but ripper of a game. Yeah,
100%. South's pretty brave as well, missing 3 or 4 pretty key middle forwards, so decent effort, even if they didn't come away with the 2 points.
I also just wanted, before we get into the stories, I just wanted to raise something quickly. You haven't been pulling me up about this bicep thing I keep doing. I'm trying to pump it up.
It's like the old up and go ads.
Yeah, I apologise. It is unintentional. I just love touching myself at times. Perfect segue, or not, into the Latrell Mitchell racism incident. I think we can probably flick the alleged bit of that. Do you want to give us the backstory?
Yeah, definitely no allege to be had there. Half-time, I believe, in the South Penrith game, boys walking up the tunnel. Spectators yelled a racial slur at Trell. A couple of the South players blew up. Cody Walker especially was visibly upset, both at half-time and after the game. Very disappointing, obviously, that this is still happening. Jason Demetriou came out after the game and really ripped in, called for life bans. So look, it's not the first time it's happened with Latrell, whether it be at a game or on social media as well, and it's disgusting that the superstar of our game, the face of the game, is having to deal with this kind of stuff still in 2023. It's really disappointing. The spectator, I believe, was 15 or 16 years of age. Even though he wasn't at a Roosters game, he was wearing a Roosters jersey, so it wasn't a Penrith supporter, which Jason Demetriou kind of generalised a little bit, which wasn't ideal for Penrith supporters, but it's happened out there, and it's really disappointing. Yeah,
and you think the Brent Naden incident was that 2 years ago? That was in the middle of COVID. This is not the first time this type of thing's happened, although in person, which is a nice change of pace, instead of it being some type of multi-related Instagram message. So JD's come out and said life bans. Plenty of players have come out in support of
Robbo as well was really good.
As well.
He was really good. Obviously, he had a close relationship with Trell for a long time when he was at the Roosters, and he knows him obviously very well. And he apologised on behalf of the Roosters, even though it's not their doing. Yeah. Just because the bloke was wearing a Roosters jersey, it's not a reflection of the club, obviously. But he was really good about it and apologised, and he called for life bans as well.
Tell us what a 15-year-old Liam O'Loughlin was like.
Certainly nothing like that. I don't mind giving lip at a footy game or a cricket game. It's fun. It's always fun. It's part of the game, part of any sport to heckle from the sidelines. But there's a line, and this bloke, for one reason or another, has certainly more than crossed that line. And it's just a line that you never cross in any situation, regardless of what colour jersey you wear or what colour your skin is. It's just a line that you don't cross, and you got to really feel for Trell that this does keep happening for him.
I'm all for the life ban. One man who's not is Paul Kent. We both went through the column over the weekend. Are you on the life ban side? Are you with Kenty and his story of being 12 and saying whatever he said, which I still don't entirely understand?
Yeah, I didn't quite understand that. It was a lot of rambling about a situation from 40 years ago. yeah, look, I understand where he's coming from. 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, they make mistakes. We've all made plenty when we're younger, but that's not a mistake. That's something that's obviously ingrained in this kid for whatever reason. And at 15, you should know a lot better. You know better than that when you're in primary school, but at 15, you should know a lot better. So I'm 100% on the side of the coaches and the players there. If you're found to have racially abused a player, whether it's on social media or at a game in person, 100% on board with a life ban. So I'm going to disagree with Kenty there.
Tough for you to say. But it's not a drastic thing to say. You go, the Sydney United fan from the Australia Cup final who did the Nazi salute, slightly different, but also something you just don't do. Life ban. 2018, or maybe it was 2019, Raheem Sterling, Man City fan.
Yeah.
Abused him, got reported by a fan who was near him, which was magnificent. Got a life ban. Life bans aren't a new thing for like fan misbehaviour. It happens. Don't be a porkchop.
100%.
And you know, play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Exactly right. Yeah, I don't think it matters what age you are. If you're found to be doing something that abhorrent, like life ban, 100%.
Yeah, sweet. Done. Look at that. Look at us both agreeing on a Monday morning.
Yes.
How good. On to something slightly less spicy, but a little bit more tragic. Kalyn Ponga. So concussed on the weekend. Earlier this year, when we were talking NRL previews, Ponga's moved to 5'8". We all know his history of concussions. You had a little bit of concern about him defending in the line and how that was going to affect him.
Yeah, I did have some concerns over that, and unfortunately, you don't want to see it, but those concerns were pretty justified. I think his technique yesterday, Adam O'Brien even agreed, wasn't great. Got his head in the wrong spot, knocked out within inside 2 minutes of the game against the Tigers. It's his fourth concussion in 10 months now. Not sure how many it is during his career, but it's more than 4. It's probably 6 or 7, I think I heard on the weekend. So that's too many.
Yep.
And yeah, he's kind of entering that Luke Keary, Boyd Cordner territory now, Jake Friend as well. We've seen it a few times where guys have either needed extended breaks or they've been forced into an early retirement. You pray to God that's not going to be the case with Kalyn, but the fact that things do keep happening and now he is defending in the front line, it's not great. They obviously had Jaden Brayley go off with the HIA as well yesterday. Tigers had a couple, obviously Jake Simpkin, that was a pretty nasty hit, and Tommy Talau's got a busted nose from a high shot too. So a few concussions coming out of that game, which is not great. But for Kalyn, it is disappointing, and I'm sure he's going to be having a few weeks on the sidelines to think about his future in the game, which is, it's pretty upsetting if you're a Newcastle or if you're a rugby league supporter, because he is one of the faces of our game.
It's on a slightly positive note that it's happened in this generation is fantastic. And I think the Roosters led the way on this. If this had happened in the 90s, he'd be out there again. On Saturday.
Yeah. Regardless of a 5-day turnaround, he'd be straight back out there.
So for a guy who's got probably more business opportunities than most outside of footy coming up, it's so tough. And I hate to say it, even as I'm not a Knights fan, I don't particularly like them at all, but you'll want someone like a Kalyn Ponga in the game. Do you reckon, though, when we're talking the fair income department, though, he should move back to fullback? There's been a few calls about that. I have thoughts, not fully thought out, but firstly, how would that actually, if he's going to fullback, is Lockie, is it a straight swap? Is Lockie Miller going to the halves? Yeah,
you would think that would have to be the case, but they've really invested in him as a 5'8" now, Kalyn.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole off-season. So I'm not sure. I don't know why he moved in the first place. He's one of the best fullbacks in the comp. I don't understand why he moved in the first place. So if we're going real or ridiculous here, I would say moving him back to fullback would be more on the real side. I don't think that's ridiculous to say at all. What they do at 5'8" doesn't really matter. But if you've got a guy that's struggling with head knocks quite consistently in the past 12 months, the last thing you want is for him to be defending in the front line every week and copping innocuous hits that are leaving him concussed.
With all respect to Tyson Frizzell, he is their marquee man. I thought there'd be a little bit of a twinge in the eye. No, bring up Frizzell, nothing? Okay. So I guess 5'8", you got Randall, maybe. Clune's on the books?
Clune's still around. Bailey Hodgson can play fullback or possibly 5'8". Lockie Miller can probably play 5'8" as well. Young bloke Simi Sasangi, he's out with a shoulder injury indefinitely, but he could be a long-term guy in the halves. So they have options long-term. But yeah, there are a lot of concerns over Kalyn and whether he's going to be able to play 5'8" consistently for an extended period, just given the nature of his head knocks.
Bring your boots to games if you're a Knights fan.
Yeah, well, Adam O'Brien even said, I might have to play next week. They've got so many injury concerns now. And obviously, Jacob Saifidi is, I think, facing 5 weeks for impersonating John Bradshaw Layfield with that clothesline from hell on Jake Simpkins. So that was pretty nasty.
We were talking about this after the game. I feel a little bit bad for him. Like, all right, horrible shot, and he felt horrible about it straight away. But gee whiz, that was a hospital pass for the ages.
Yeah, that wasn't Happy Coruscant's finest moment there. Jake Simpkin, I think he should be owed a case of beer from his teammate there. That was a pretty awful pass and an even worse tackle.
Yeah, it happens. So Kalyn moving to fullback, possibility?
I think so. I think it has to be a possibility that Adam O'Brien looks at. Good win from the Knights, to be fair. That was trying circumstances, and they've come away with the 2 points against that absolute rabble of a Tigers outfit.
What's in worse shape, Leichhardt or the Tigers? And it hurts me. I'm a West Tigers apologist.
I think the Tigers have spent millions and millions of dollars on a centre of mediocrity out at Concord. And it certainly hasn't helped them yet. They've looked pretty diabolical in the first 2 rounds.
Let's keep going, digging the boot into the West Tigers fans. Like, haven't they suffered enough? The Hastings-Talau-Klemmer blow up. I only saw bits and pieces of it. I watched it on they weren't highlights, but I watched it back because someone had told me about it. I didn't see it the first time. What was the go with it?
So Tommy Talau, young centre from the Tigers, obviously would have played with Hastings last year. So they're obviously former teammates. Jacko's clipped him high, trying to save a try. Tommy's gone off, failed his HIA. I believe he's also got a busted nose, Tim Sheen said, after the game.
And he'll miss this week as well, sure.
Yeah, so he'll be out this week as well, Tommy. Hastings, after the game, did a post-game interview. He said, look, I didn't think I hit him high at first, but obviously I did if he failed his HIA and he's got a busted nose. So he made the point to say he was going to go and apologise, and as he walked off he thought he was probably out of shot. The Fox League cameras kept rolling, and Jacko's gone up to Tommy to give him an apology, and Talau's giving him the big, don't argue, don't want to speak to you. Whether there's any bad blood from when they were at the club together, you don't know. Obviously, it'd be disappointing to have a busted nose, and then Big Clem decided to insert himself into the situation, walked over and got stuck into Hastings and told him bugger off. So it was a bit of a spicy moment, and it's been caught on camera obviously now as well, so everyone's seen it. Very interesting.
When I was watching it reminds me, have you ever seen the UFC where, all right, so someone gets tapped out, and then the guy who wins is always like patting the guy who lost on the back, like, oh mate, great fight. I'm like, mate, if I just lost a fight that I've been training for like 12 weeks and I'm hungry, like I've barely eaten, get away from me. I don't want to be
don't touch me.
I think the intentions probably from Hastings were pretty good, but the timing's not so great.
Yeah, maybe shoot him a message on Instagram on Monday morning, just not 20 minutes after you've just knocked the bloke into next week and busted his nose.
Just walk over. Here's a bit of your nostril horse. Sorry about that.
Mark Geyer on Triple M, I think this morning, on whatever show he's on now, not the Grill Team or Moon Man, it's something else now. He's kind of taken a dig at Klemmer and said, stay out of it, mind your own business, essentially. Hastings has gone over trying to do the right thing. His intentions were pretty harmless to apologise, and it's the old adage, what happens on the field should probably stay on the field. Hastings has gone over by himself as well. MJ's given the put more energy into playing 80 minutes instead of worrying about what a halfback's doing after a game. But
I mean,
I don't know. Like, I don't think it's a great look to have that kind of thing happening after full time. But should he be reprimanded for that, Dave Klemmer?
No, not even a little bit.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Maybe a talking to, but even that, yeah.
Just settle down, Tiger. But also, like everyone loved when, and this is slightly different, when he got into your man Corey. Oh, Chris, use your words. During Origin, when he was a young tacker.
Parker.
Yeah, Corey Parker. I was going to go on that for 5 minutes. Like everyone loves that fiery side of him, but here it's like, it's too It's two backs having a crack at each other.
Yeah.
Let it be.
Security guard from the ground from Leichhardt, he's come to pull them apart, which was interesting. You don't see that happen too often.
Good first step speed from him as well,
Yeah,
actually.
100%,
You could see him coming, so I liked that.
Clem saw any hint of argy-bargy and he was straight on to
Yeah.
it. But yeah, I'm kind of with MG there. Maybe just pipe down a little bit, let the boys sort it out themselves. You're not on the field, you don't need to be running to your centre's defence. I'm sure they weren't going to come to blows or anything.
In the atrocity index, which we haven't spoken about, but apparently I just introduced, but worse or less of an issue than the Luai salmon one from only a week prior?
I mean, it's probably a bigger issue than that. I mean, not that it's an issue. If Luai and salmon was a 1 out of 10, this is probably a 1.5. But just because it involves opposing players and there was, a hint of physical involved, probably a little bit of a bigger scale thing, but nothing to worry about, nothing to be punished for, I don't think either. Maybe just to cut it out from the coach or someone from the NRL, but I don't think it's a major issue.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, finally, on to number 4. Whew, we are flying today. Your man, James Tedesco. Again, when we were speaking about him in pre-season, I was like, oh, where are we at in his window of greatness? And you were saying, we're smack bang in the middle of it, baby. This is it. Tedesco's the guy. Will the Roosters keep him after 2024? He's off contract. Suaalii is off contract. Joe Manu is off contract.
Yeah, they've got some big decisions, don't they, the Roosters? Got quite a few guys off contract at the end of 24, end of 23 as well. They've got quite a few without deals past this year, so they do have some big decisions to make, and this is probably the biggest of them. Yep. Teddy's a 2-time premiership winner, New South Wales captain, Origin captain, Roosters captain, probably in the top 3 players in the competition, probably still the best fullback in the competition. And surprisingly, there's calls for the Roosters to move him on in favour of Joseph Suaalii, who obviously has indicated he would like to play fullback long term. It's a very similar situation to Roger Tuivasa-Sheck when he was first at the Roosters coming through. Had to bide his time in the outside backs when Minnie was still playing. Didn't have to do it for too long. Joseph is probably going to have to do it for another 3 or 4 years at least if Teddy sticks around. So it's interesting. Joey Johns has come out and raised the question whether Teddy might move back to the Tigers in 2025.
Joey, you big romantic.
Yeah. I'm not too sure about these calls. Like, it's only 2 rounds in. They're 1-1. Teddy was pretty solid the other day. Suaalii picked up, I think, 4 or 5 Dally M points, so he was pretty sound in the centres. But, I mean, there's worse things to do than play in the centres and get paid $750,000, $800,000, I would think. Especially at a club like the Roosters where you're going to get good ball. Yeah. And you've probably got that licence to roam a little bit as well.
I've been surprised that the conversation's been 1-2 between him and Teddy. I know Manu seems pretty happy in the centres. Obviously, he's lighting it up for the Kiwis at the back. Again, on good coin, he's only 26. So he is 5 years older. But I would have thought he'd be the number 2 option. But then again, I don't manage salary caps.
Yeah, well, they're all playing fullback at the international level for the 3 best teams in the world as well, because obviously Suaalii played fullback in the World Cup for Samoa and they made the final, pushed Australia for a little period in the final as well. So you could argue they're the 3 best fullbacks in the international game. So it's an interesting dilemma to have for the Roosters. But yeah, I would think Joey Manu would be the number 2 option if something did happen to Teddy or during Origin as well. But I can't see them letting him go at the end of 2024 unless he had a massive dip in form, which I just can't see happening, to be honest. Teddy, he's still so consistent. I think that's pretty ridiculous, any calls for the Roosters to move him on at the end of 2024. He might not get a 4-year extension, but a 2-year extension would probably be fair.
Will he be 31?
Yeah. By the time his contract finishes, I think 31. So, I mean, he's still got plenty of good footy ahead of him. And I think it was Joey as well on one of those Channel 9 shows said that with the injuries he had early in his career at the Tigers, that's probably potentially given him a couple of extra years at the back end of his career now that he has stayed injury free for a while, Teddy. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I'm not on board with any calls for Teddy to get the boot.
Ridiculous,
100%.
Ouch. No, I'm with you. Although, I guess we'll see how this season goes. I just can't see Teddy dropping off like that. That seems silly to me. Whoa, we're halfway there. No, We're almost there. Finally.
80%. This is going in the ridiculous column as well.
Did you ever listen to the Rugby League Digest Super League War?
No.
It's about 70 hours. It's amazing. It's if you've never listened to it, it's one of the best rugby league podcasts out there. But a lot of that is when they're talking about NRL expansion, which we will. It's just like the many ham-fisted attempts footy has tried to do it. And even before I read the story in the Daily Telegraph about them moving to potentially 20 teams, you just know that it's going to be positioned as this is how we beat AFL. And he's like, mate, like outside of the Eastern Seaboard, not really even Melbourne, they're not changing. Like,
are you sure we're not already beating AFL? I feel like rugby league's doing just fine as it is.
But that's the thing, rugby league's fine. Yeah. Rugby league's fine, but you're never going to get someone who's rusted on an AFL fan to be like, you know what? No, I'm watching
jumping ship.
Yeah, I'm watching the Knights Tigers on a Sunday arvo.
I don't think rugby league fans want to watch that, did they?
Exactly. So, a report from the Daily Telegraph, potentially moving to 20 teams. Got some heavy hitters involved. Nick Politis has said they'd certainly like to do it. Now, it has to have a hook. And as always, when we can't think of anything to hook, we go North Sydney Bears. North Sydney Bears are coming back.
Dean Ritchie's been campaigning twice a year for the last 15 years.
James Bracey's on board, but to be fair, the Bears have come out and said we would be open to a joint venture. So if it was a Pacifica team, they would want to have Bears colours, Bears name, and then 2 games at North Sydney Oval, which sounds like a pretty fair deal.
Yeah, I think so. I don't see why not. Keeping the name alive, I suppose, is not the worst thing, but certainly North Sydney Bears coming back, I think, is out of the question.
Yeah.
So I think that the move to 20 teams, I think I read the Pacifica franchise would be based out of Cairns.
Yeah, there's been a move from that, yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously Perth is the other one that comes up. They're making moves in all different sports now, Perth, and their government are trying to push for big events and big sporting franchises. So I think it is, if they are going to move to 18 or 20 teams, Perth is certainly one that they could look at. Obviously, they've tried before and it's failed, but
miserably.
Yeah, miserably. It's a bit different now. I think we can count Adelaide out of the equation.
No Adelaide Rams.
No, I don't think so. But yeah, I don't know about 20 teams. That sounds very ambitious. I think it was my man Dan Ganane on Twitter on the weekend said the Dolphins have won 2 from 2.
Let's breathe.
Yeah, let's just calm down.
Yeah.
They have played the Raiders and the Roosters New South Wales Cup team. So let's pump the brakes for a little bit, see how they're looking at the end of the season before we start worrying about further expanding the competition. So yeah, I'm not entirely sold on the idea of... I'm not sold at all.
Yeah.
On the idea of 20 teams. Sounds a lot like Sydney grade cricket where there's 20 teams, but at least half a dozen clubs and not very competitive.
Yeah.
So,
okay. But also, Dolphins is a tough one because you can call yourselves the Dolphins. We know you're from Redcliffe. I know where you live. But they're an established brand. They've got an Ari. They've got an amazing balcony over the field. They're not coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
You're not building something from the ground up. I'm very curious, even if we can make it to Magic Round, I'd love to see what people's thoughts are then, because I don't think the Dolphins are going to run the table here. I don't think anyone expects that. That'd be unfair. Yeah. But I think the conversation will very quickly turn as soon as the Dolphins get 40 put on them. It'll be, there's not enough talent.
Not enough talent.
La 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 la. I love Rezzies. I would, if the Sharks for some reason ever got turfed from the comp, I would happily watch Rezzies on the weekend and become a Jets fan. That's fine.
I don't subscribe to the argument that there's not enough talent for 17 or possibly 18 teams at the moment. You only have to look at some of the guys that Penrith have had to lose just due to their success.
Yeah.
Like Jermaine Hopgood's absolutely carving up.
Yes,
he walks into pretty much every team in the competition in a starting position, but couldn't play at Penrith. And there's plenty of those scattered across the competition that are playing reserve grade that would walk into a lot of teams. So I don't subscribe to that. I think if we're able to spread out the talent better, I think across 17 or 18 teams it could 100% work. But 20 at this stage might be pushing it, especially when you look at grassroots. It's probably not where it was 15, 20 years ago in terms of engagement there from kids. So I don't know if there's a talent for 20 teams, but 17, 18 I think is possibly doable.
You think what next TV deal 2027?
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how we're going to make money. Anthony Albanese, good Jets man, has come out and said he's put his backing behind Papua New Guinea getting a team. I could get around that.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
But when they were introduced into the Q Cup, that was fantastic.
Yeah, and that's the only country in the world where rugby league is the national
sport.
So I think
Great trivia question.
if we can make it work, one more team at the moment could be a sweet spot. But I think moving to 20 is a long way away, and I think it'd be more likely that a team currently in the NRL, as sad as it is to say, would get relocated or get the boot before we move to 20.
Yeah.
Who that is, I'm not sure. You mentioned the Sharks.
I do have a short list.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's more likely than moving to 20 teams.
Yeah. Although I did love, so randomly there was a bit of rugby league in the Washington Post. And how they'd framed it was, we are fighting China's political influence with the only thing we know how to win, rugby league. Don't have subs, don't have guns or anything, but we've got footy. Let's do it. We'll just play Tina Turner non-stop. Right? And I know it, I'd be fine with that. But so the NRL, they'll expand. They will expand at some point.
Yeah, I would think 18 is probably not too far away. I would say before the next TV deal, if it is 4 years away, I reckon we'll have an 18th team by then. If
they do go to 20 though, I'm going to load up on jerseys. Like I look at all the, every single Gold Coast team ever done. But the Mariners jerseys now, Adelaide Rams, Western Reds, all of them, those jerseys go for a bunch. That's going to be my retirement fund. Good one. All right, NRL expansion. We'll see what happens. I'm very interested to see how we're talking about this come Magic Round.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
On the round or on expansion?
On the round.
On the round, it was good to see all the teams in red outside of South Sydney get the victories on the weekend. The Dolphins 2 from 2. That's why I'm repping the red today. Nothing to do with the team that played on Sunday night who blitzed the Titans, premiership favourites. I think the Titans were after last week. So, yeah, massive win for the Dragons, which was quite exciting. Poor crowd at Oki Jubilee, but might build in a couple of weeks' time against the Sharks.
Might. Yeah, it might. You never know.
Might not.
All right, that's it for us. We'll see you next week.